So hello everybody, this is Bhante Joe here, and just here at Colonel Danforth Park, and thought to record a short Ovada for the internet. So thought that could start off with a little bit of meditation, so can lean forward a bit and arch our spine, and look about 3 feet in front, and close our eyes. And we can spread thoughts of goodwill. Spreading thoughts of goodwill to our right hand side. Wishing may all beings to my right be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And we can make our minds infinite, can make them unbounded, all the way to the ends of the universe and beyond. In every dimension, may all beings to my right be happy and at ease. And can spread thoughts of goodwill to our right hand side and our left hand side. Wishing may all beings to my right and my left be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And we can make our minds infinite, can make them unbounded, all the way to the ends of the universe and beyond. In every dimension, may all beings to my right and my left be happy and at ease. And can spread thoughts of goodwill to our right, our left, and in front. Wishing all beings in these 3 directions happiness and ease. And can spread thoughts of goodwill to the right, the left, in front, and behind, wishing all beings in all these 4 directions happiness and ease. And can spread thoughts of goodwill to the right, left, in front, behind, and above. May all beings in all 4 directions and above be happy and at ease. And can spread thoughts of goodwill to our right, left, in front, behind, above, below, all around, everywhere in every direction. May all beings all around, everywhere in every direction be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And can make the mind infinite, can make it unbounded, all the way to the ends of the universe and beyond, in every dimension. May all beings all around everywhere be happy and at ease. and can open the eyes and can do short reflection on the Dhamma. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami, dhammang saranang gacchami, sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami, dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami, tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. So hello everybody, and hope that everybody's having a great day wherever it might be. And just here in Colonel Danforth Park. And so this is actually one of my favorite parks in the GTA. And first started coming down here maybe a couple years ago. And it's really wonderful, kind of right near the road, but also has like quite a lot of wilderness. And so really enjoy kind of coming down to this park. And now this is maybe the first day of the summer when it's possible to record a video outside. So I thought to try to do that. And when coming down here, kind of striking out into the wilderness a bit, one of the first things, I mean this park, but kind of thinking to go into the bushes, one of the first perceptions that comes up for me actually is about ticks. I mean, now the first perception is, it's really nice park and a beautiful place, but also have this kind of perception of ticks. Kind of when I was living once at a place that had a lot of ticks. And ticks in Ontario carry this disease called Lyme disease. It's kind of very disease that if this tick bites you, then if you get it, they can have very serious symptoms. Some can be pretty debilitating, kind of very low energy, and then it progresses to severe joint pain, and some people it seems to have kind of maybe some neurological effects, kind of with their ability to think properly. Anyways, it's a disease that one doesn't want, and is carried by ticks. So going out to the wilderness, when I see tall grass, I think, okay, there could be ticks there. And of course, this is kind of the way it is with the human realm, kind of being a human. If it was heaven, then there would be wilderness, and it'd be beautiful wilderness, there'd be no ticks. You kind of run through the bushes. But, in the human realm, almost all the time in the wilderness, people aren't the only things living in the wilderness. The wilderness is not exclusively for people. And this gets more and more the case the more wild one gets. The deeper into the wilderness one gets. There's kind of animals that are also living there. And those animals have their own desires to survive. And sometimes their desire to survive depends on them eating other animals. Some eat grass, and then some eat these other animals. But going into the wilderness, this is one of the things that one has the opportunity to notice. It's kind of this first thing that the Buddha said. He had these list of questions for novice monks, and the first one is, what is one? And kind of ask, like, what is one? And it sounds like it might be this mystical answer, like, one is, the unity of the universe, but actually what is one is all beings subsist on food. So that basically means that to whatever extent a person takes on an identity, it requires some sort of nutriment, requires something that we feed on, something to eat. And so going out into the wilderness, this is something that becomes very clear. Kind of everything out there, if you go into the bushes in Canada, I mean, it's beautiful, there's mosquitoes that come to eat you. But you go walking through the grass, there might be ticks that want to eat your blood. If you go to the wilderness in Asia or in the jungle, then there's leeches or larger animals that might want to eat you. And so there is this aspect of the wilderness that's kind of peaceful, that's lovely to go out into, but there's also this aspect of the wilderness that's dangerous. There's an aspect of the wilderness where there are other beings who are trying to eat us. And so this may be one of the reasons, one of them at least, that the wilderness is such a good place to practice meditation. Because it's a place where one can see both of these kind of elements in play. It's kind of, on the one hand, it can be a very nice and peaceful and refreshing place, But on the other hand, it gives one an opportunity to see pretty clearly the way in which beings feed on one another. Kind of quite literal. And one has to be kind of very observant about this. Yeah? So it can give one kind of sense, about the way that one's physical body, one's physical life is reliant on food that's derived from other sources. Other beings are reliant on food that's derived from maybe your blood, maybe your skin, and so it makes you mindful, trying to protect that, kind of trying to be aware, where are the ticks, where are these kind of other things. And it also tends to, in addition, turn your mind away. It kind of turns your mind away more, to a certain extent, from the external world. Although is definitely quite a lot of beauty in things like trees and, the light, filtering through the trees and, the rivers and all these kind of things. When one comes here to meditate, one learns to turn one's mind inward. So this is the kind of benefit of this. When one looks out, sees these principles in nature, it turns one's mind away to a certain extent from samsara. And it's kind of very beautiful things, but also things that have this flip side to them. And this is kind of the way it always is in life. Although oftentimes, as humans, of course, every being tries to do this, kind of try to make things as nice as possible. But the reality of things is that everything has a double-edged sword to a certain extent. It's kind of like a snake, and you can grab on one end and the other end can turn around to bite. So this is often the case, especially with the things that one loves. One loves, job, one loves kind of various types of food, one loves various types of cars or TV shows. And these are things that a person feeds on. Kind of these are things like a mosquito wanting blood that a person goes to suck on to sustain themselves, to sustain their nutriment. One eats them, they become a part of one's identity. One's job becomes a part of one's identity. One's family can become a part of one's identity. All these things make up a sense of who a person is. And of course, in the same way that the wilderness has these beautiful aspects to it, there's light filtering through the trees, there's quite a lot of peace there. One can, find pleasant feeling in these various external things. And kind of, one wants to watch some entertaining TV show, then it's not like it's a terrible, horrible experience. Kind of if one gets some like a nice house that one really wanted to get, that's not like it's a terrible, horrible experience. But there's also a flip side to these things, kind of like the snake. In other words, when one grabs onto the tail of a snake, then the head comes around and bites. Kind of the tail seems very benign, but there's always the head. You can't, unless a person kind of gets half a snake, then there's always a head attached to the tail. And so if you try to grab a part of that snake, the head will come around and bite. We don't usually try to grab its, the tail looks nice and smooth, so people grab onto that. And in the same way, when one comes to things that are beautiful, comes to things that are appealing and attractive, the tendency is to grab onto that smooth part, never realizing that or maybe partially realizing that there's this other aspect to these things. In other words, these things that a person grabs onto, they also have this kind of quality of being subject to change, kind of not something that's permanent, not something that lasts. That's if they're very good. But often they also have these other hidden qualities to them. It's like a mixed bag. Kind of like coming to the wilderness. You get both the beauty and the mosquitoes. Right here, sitting here, you can be sitting here and maybe ants start to crawl on you. Very pleasant to sit here. It's very nice, but this is the human realm. There's a mix. Because there's this mix, it allows people, this is maybe possibly one of the reasons why the Buddha says the human realm is the optimal one to practice in, is because it allows people to see this kind of interconnection between the things that we love and the things that we hate. And actually Taoism notices this, kind of, it's like the Tao is the unifier between these things. But the Buddha's solution to this is actually not to always try to make things really great. Actually, this park is landscaped. It's very nice, very attractive and very appealing. Kind of the grass is cut, which is why I decided to sit here. But the thing about this kind of thing is that although these things, we can only manipulate them so much, and then it's not possible to manipulate them anymore. We can only watch so many TV shows. We can only make our house so beautiful, and each time we try to up that, our kind of pleasure goes down a bit. It's kind of in economics, they call that diminishing marginal return. So, you eat one burger, it's tasty, the second one's less tasty, third one's less tasty, etc. Then maybe you need to switch to doing something else, So when we come to the wilderness, we can see all these things in play. This is one of the reasons why the traditional forest monks, although they didn't have access to the suttas, they would say, you know, going into the wilderness, one can listen to the Dhamma 24/7. It's because the principles that are present in nature are there much more clearly. Okay? You can see the principles that are present in the Dhamma much more clearly. And one of these principles being that all these things are a mixed bag. The things that we love are connected to the things that we hate. Oftentimes, the kind of praise is connected to blame, and gain is connected to loss. Pleasure is connected to pain. Status is connected to loss of status. All these things in our own minds, our ability to eat them, our ability to consume them, our ability to make them part of ourselves is sometimes dependent on their opposite. It's kind of one of the reasons why people can really enjoy, you know, going out to a park or whatever at the end of a long day of work, or really enjoy a TV show at the end of a long day of work or a long weekend, or really enjoy the weekend. But if they retire and they have all this free time on their hands, then it starts to get boring. You know, it's kind of too much of it. So it's in this way that these things, you know, kind of depend, our ability to enjoy them can also to a certain extent depend on their opposite. So the Buddha's solution to this is, rather than constantly grabbing onto the tail of the snake because it looks attractive and getting bitten by the head, is to try to find a way beyond all these things, kind of to try to find a way, path that leads past them, leads to something that isn't dependent on gain and loss, on pleasure and pain, on status, on loss of status, and on praise and blame. And this path is the path of practice that he prescribed, the path of morality, the path of generosity, and the path of meditation. And so this is a path that leads outwards, kind of leads onwards, leads outwards, away from these dichotomies. And so when a person comes to the wilderness like this, one sees the way these things interact, can see the way these things interact a bit more clearly, kind of, okay, sitting down, it's a beautiful park, but there might be ants, you know, kind of sitting down, you know, it's kind of a beautiful night outside, but the mosquitoes come. All these things are trying to feed. And so when one reflects on the way that samsara operates in this way, then it can incline one's mind away from samsara, incline one's mind away from the need to feed to try to find something that doesn't require a source of food. And in this way, coming to these places, places that are conducive, places where these principles are more evident, can incline our mind towards a practice of meditation, kind of a practice that can bring us away from this constant need to eat, from this constant searching after gain only to find loss, searching after pleasure only to find pain, from searching after these things to find satisfaction but not finding it. Because the real end of suffering, the real end to this constant search for satisfaction is the end of this need to feed, is the end of this grabbing the snake and getting bit by the head again. And this is the Buddha's teaching, it's his path to Nibbana, which is the end of suffering. So coming to a place like this, coming to the wilderness, can spur us in this direction, so long as a person observes, you know, the laws of nature, the way that nature interacts, observes them with the desire to progress in the Dhamma. Then all these principles are right here. What the Buddha discovered, the principles are here in nature for us to observe and to spur us onwards to the end of his path, to the end of suffering. Okay, so I think that leave that for reflection, and hope that everybody has a great day. Wish you all the best.